Hello everyone, welcome to our webinar today. This is Shabaz, and I'm a product manager in the Azure Network Security Customer Experience Engineering team here at Microsoft. In this session, we'll look at what's new in Azure Firewall. So we'll take a look at some of the new features and recent updates on Azure Firewall. So let's get started. So here's the agenda for today's session. We'll start with Azure Firewall overview, and then we'll cover the new features in Azure Firewall. And then we'll also demonstrate some of these features. And finally, we'll spend some time on Q&A. So let's get into the topic. So what is Azure Firewall? Azure Firewall is a cloud-native and intelligent network firewall security service that provides the best of breed threat protection for your cloud workloads. So it's a fully stateful firewall as a service with built-in high availability and unrestricted cloud scalability. So what are the key benefits of Azure Firewall? So if we look at the key benefits here, we have network and application traffic filtering. We have built-in threat intelligence, which helps us in blocking malicious traffic. We can also deploy and scale the firewall in a matter of minutes, so it's pretty quick. And then Azure Firewall supports east, west, and north-south traffic filtering. And the Azure Firewall comes in 3 different SKUs. The first one is basic SKU, which is primarily meant for SMB segment. Then we have the standard SKU for enterprise and government organizations. And finally, we have the premium SKU, which is tailored for high security environments. Now, let's take a look at the firewall use cases. So the first one there is VNet deployment. So firewall can be deployed in a hub VNet, where you can secure traffic between spoke VNets, subnets, and also traffic to the internet. Optionally, you can also secure traffic to branch offices via express route or VPN gateway. And then we have the second use case there, which is virtual WAN. So we can deploy firewall in a virtual WAN hub, and you can secure traffic between VNets, branch offices, and cross-hub communication. And also, with the help of virtual WAN, we can automate route configuration to easily attract traffic to the firewall. And finally, the last use case there is the forced tunnel mode. So internet breakout is via a third-party firewall deployed on premises or somewhere else in our environment. So this is supported in both VNets and vWAN. So vWAN firewalls are by default, they come with forced tunnel mode. And those are the use cases for Azure Firewall. So if we quickly look at the comparison sheet between these 3 SKUs, as we can see here, the Firewall Premium has all the features that Azure Firewall has to offer, comes with 100 Gbps of throughput, and everything under advanced threat protection is available here. Whereas in Firewall Standard, it comes with 30 Gbps of throughput, and in the advanced threat protection, we only have threat intelligence based filtering, and the rest of the features are not there in standard firewall. And finally, in the Firewall Basic, we have all the essential features like layer 3 to layer 7 filtering, some of the reliability and performance and enterprise integration, and ease of management. The only thing that is missing here is we don't have the web content filtering and DNS proxy when compared to the standard firewall. And we also don't have the advanced threat protection that is available in Firewall Premium. However, we do have the threat intelligence based filtering, but that's only in the alert mode in Firewall Basic, as we can see here. So depending upon our requirement, we can choose the SKU as we need. Now, let's jump into the actual topic for today's webinar. So let's take a look at what's new in Azure Firewall. And the first one we have here is Azure Firewall Security Copilot Embedded Experience. Now, the Security Copilot's advanced attack investigation capabilities are now seamlessly integrated into the Azure portal, which is also referred as the embedded experience. So this enhancement allows users to directly query Azure Firewall data within the portal itself. Thereby, we don't have to navigate to other portals like Security Copilot, and we'll get all the capabilities within Azure portal itself. So that brings the users closer to their daily workflows. Now, what are the capabilities that we have in this particular feature is that Everything that we had in Security Copilot standalone experience will get all of those IDPS related features for Azure Firewall within embedded experience as well. So for example, we get the features like retrieving the top IDPS signature hits for Azure Firewall. We can also enrich the threat profile of an IDPS signature beyond log information by understanding the nature and impact of these threats. So we can get information like why did the IDPS flag a certain hit as a high severity and a certain hit as low severity. And we can also gather more information about the attack. On top of this, we have a couple of more features in the IDPS blade, which is looking for a given IDPS signature across your tenant, subscription, or resource group, searching through multiple firewalls with the help of Copilot. And also, finally, we can generate recommendations to secure your environment using Azure Firewall's Security Copilot integration. So that's a bit about the embedded experience. Now let's move on to the second feature we have, which is bring your own IP for secured virtual hub. So administrators now have the flexibility to assign customer managed public IPs to secured virtual hub firewalls. So this is for new deployments. So this feature offers several advantages like full ownership and control over the lifecycle of your firewall's public IP, enhanced protection through support for DDoS mitigation, and the ability to allocate Azure Firewall by public IP addresses from an IP prefix pool, improving operational efficiency and resource management. So as we can see here on this slide, we can select the customer provided IP within the portal itself under the Azure Firewall section when you're creating a secured virtual hub. Now moving on, the next feature we have is the private IP DNAT feature. So up until recently, DNAT rules were only supported on the firewall public IP addresses, so mostly used for incoming traffic. So in this particular feature release, we have enhanced DNAT scenario to support port translation on Azure private IP, so which is the VIP of the firewall. Now, this feature is particularly beneficial in scenarios such as addressing overlapping IP ranges when onboarding new partners or during organizational mergers, and also facilitating hybrid connectivity by bridging on-premises data centers with Azure environments. And finally, this feature can also help with ensuring seamless communication between private resources over non-routable IP addresses. We also have a blog about this feature in our tech community blogs. We highly recommend everyone to check that blog out. Now, moving on to the next one, we are going to talk about some of the enhancements to Azure Firewall user experience. We have quite a few enhancements here. So the first one is built-in Azure policies for Azure Firewall. So Azure Firewall now supports built-in Azure policies to enhance governance and enforce security best practices. So when administrators are initially configuring their firewalls, or even after shortly deploying the firewall, managing configuration across multiple firewalls to meet organizational standards can be complex, and this is also prone to oversight and error. So these built-in policies streamline configuration management across multiple firewalls, ensuring compliance with essential security and operational requirements. We also have a blog for this as well in our tech community, so please check that out if you have a chance. Then the next enhancement we have is the built-in Azure Advisor recommendations. So after deploying a firewall, it's essential to monitor any limitations that could impact its performance, particularly in large or complex environments. So Azure Advisor offers recommendations to help users optimize Azure resources across 5 key areas like reliability, security, operational excellence, performance, and cost. So with this integration, Azure Advisor can proactively notify you if your Azure Firewall deployment is reaching any sort of limitations, experiencing performance impacts, or has potential misconfigurations. So this means you'll be able to receive timely recommendations to address issues before they affect your network security, ensuring a seamless and secure experience. Now, the third one there is the management NIC changes. So an Azure Firewall Management NIC separates firewall management traffic from customer traffic. So the firewall routes its management traffic via the dedicated Azure Firewall Management subnet which is a /26 subnet. And this feature was previously called forced tunneling. Now, a management NIC was required only for forced tunneling in the previous case. However, upcoming firewall features will also require a management NIC. So to support any of these new feature capabilities, we must need to create an Azure firewall with the firewall management NIC, or we can enable it on an existing Azure firewall. So this is a mandatory requirement to avoid service disruption. We can also learn more about it in our Azure Firewall documentation. You can just search about management NIC changes on Azure Firewall and you'll get more details on that. And the next enhancement we have is the diagnose and solve plate. So the diagnose and solve problems plate is a feature in Azure that helps customers troubleshoot and solve Azure issues. So it helps you explore the most common problems for your Azure firewalls by providing quick access to service or resource health insights, automated troubleshooters, curated DIY guides, and additional troubleshooting tools that are all part of the self-help experience designed to help customers solve their problems without even filing a support ticket. So to use this feature, you need to navigate to your firewall in the Azure portal and select diagnose and solve problems. This feature also provides you with a summarized view of resource health and recent changes. And then finally, we have the change tracking enhancement. So Azure Resource Graph, this is an integration with Azure Resource Graph. So Azure Resource Graph allows efficient resource exploration and change analysis at scale, offering detailed change tracking across Azure subscriptions. So recently, Azure Resource Graph introduced support for rule collection groups, enabling users to track Azure Firewall rule collection group changes using resource graph queries. So this capability can help you track changes made to your firewall and firewall rules, helping ensure accountability for a sensitive resource like a firewall in our network security environment. Now, so these are some of the features and enhancements that we had in the recent times. So I would, stop here and like to hand it over to Gustavo to kind of demonstrate some of these features and show how exactly these work. Thank you, Gustavo. The floor is yours.
Hey, thank you, Shabaz. Hello, everyone. Thank you all for joining today. So I'll start presenting some of the features. We do have a demo for some of these features that Shabaz just presented here today. So I would like to start with the change tracking using the Azure Resource Graph integration. So let me start by doing this. I'll make a quick change in one policy here so we can track it. And just to give some context, not previously, but we always have this activity log available in Azure Firewall, right? But the thing is that this activity log will show when there is some kind of updates or changes or some being made on your firewall policy. However, it's not going to show you details of what's being changed within the policy. So for example, if you have a policy which with a bunch of rules, some of these rules are allowing traffic and some other rules denying traffic, and someone goes and change the rules, right? The activity logs would not show exactly what was changed, like what was the old value and what's the new value. So with this integration here, we can now get more details, which helps tracking and doing auditing all the changes made on the policy. So let me go to my firewall policy here. I'll make a change in one of the rules real quick. Just let this show me the rules. Okay, so yeah, I'll make a change on this rule here. This rule I'm using, specific destination types and destination service tags. I will just disable one of them, remove Azure Device Update from here, and save it. And while it's applying, I will just open a new window and go to the Resource Graph Explorer. And I will use one specific query. This query that I'm going to use here is available in our recent blog post in the tech community. The blog post you know, describing how the feature works and giving you these query sample to use. And it's also available in our GitHub. So if you want to use the same query, you can just go here and you know, on these two places and copy the query from there. So let me run this query here. And okay, so here we can see I have one change being made on the 18th, and then some changes being made on the 19th, and another one on the 20th. And so yeah, all of these changes are showing, you know, change type is an update. What was the, you know, the FIDO policy name, so I can find the FIDO policy name here. And also give information about the rule collection name, what has changed, and the timestamps, right? If we want to know more information about that, we can just click on See Details, and then within See Details, we're going to have these changes down below here. So this one is showing two changes, right? So the change key showing the new value. So that was one change where I added the Azure Device Update. This is not the change that I just made, which is still being applied. And the other value here was that I changed the protocol from TCP to any, right? So yeah, that's a, you know, that's a way how we now have to track these changes being made on the firewall. It helps with troubleshooting and management and auditing. So it's really helpful for the net operations team on a daily basis. Let me see if my change has been applied here. It's still running, but yeah, it will pretty much show the same information. Like if we go to some other, some of the other changes, let's check this one on the 18th. So I can just go back here, see what was the rule collection. The rule collection was the same one. I click on See Details. I can see what else has changed here. So the port has changed on the destination ports. So we see exactly what is the attribute that is being changed. So the port was changed from 8081 to nothing. And so it was some a value that has been removed from the policy. And then the other change was on the IP protocols. So it was previous value was any, and then the new value was TCP, right? This one is still applying. So yeah, let's just move on. I hope you all got the idea, you know, could get the idea. It's gonna, you know, be showing all the changes being made on the firewall policy. Okay, so next we have the integration with the security copilot, where we can now use the embedded experience, right? So let me go to my firewall and let's close this. So if we use this Copilot button up here, just click on that. The Copilot will be, you know, will pop up here, and then we can run a few prompts. Remember that today this integration with Azure Firewall only offers, you know, the skill to help you on the investigation based on the IDPS feature, right? So you can use the integration to find, you know, what kind of malicious requests or what kind of requests are triggering, you know, some signature IDs and being alerted or even blocked by your firewall, right? So I'm gonna put like a basic question here. Hey, has any actually has my firewall seen recent any malicious requests recently? Let's see what we're gonna get here. This feature is in public preview right now, so there are some improvements being made. Sometimes we notice, like for this, right? I just asked the question, it didn't select this skill correctly. So let's run it again. Let's give it another try and see if it works this time. So I asked the question, it's trying to determine what to do. it says using Security Copilot. Now it understood that I'm trying to get information from my firewall. So it's looking through the top IDPS signature hits. And once this lookup is completed, it's going to show me a table with the top signature IDs based on hits, right? So in this table here, let me expand this a little bit more. So in this table here, we can see the number of hits, the action that was taken by the firewall, the signature ID, the category of the signature ID, a little bit of the description and the severity. So on top of that, you can just keep asking more questions like, hey, give me more information about the signature IDs that have, severity 2. And the firewall, the security copilot will just run another, check on based on your prompt, and we'll provide you a little bit more information about the severity 2 signature IDs. One other example that you could be using this for is asking if the signature IDs are related to any CVE. So you could get more information about what's the what's the CVE about, and what are the risks, what are the mitigations, and all of that, right? So this is the result for my second question. So it's just giving me, the severity 2 signature IDs based on the top hits. So if I ask them like, hey, please give me more details about one of these signature IDs, like is the signature ID, let's take the first one, maybe 2402000, related to a CVE. So the idea is really, number one, you don't need to know how to create all of the oh, hold on a sec. What's going on here right now? This is not expected. I wasn't expecting for this one. Let me try again. Let's try this one again. So in this case, let's say you don't need to know custom query language a lot to run or write queries to help you on the investigation. You can just use like natural language to understand a little bit what's being alert and blocked by your firewall. It can also give you some links because when we have signatures that are that's in our knowledge base with links for more knowledge. You can get that information from the Microsoft Defender. So the idea is really to use this feature to help you on the investigation and understanding what's happening in your environment or what's at risk, right? So I just ran the same prompt here, and then I got these the signature ID, blah blah blah. It's not directly related to a CVE. It's categorized under miscellaneous attack, and described it as drop shield. So it's not related to any CVE. And one other question that we can ask here, in this case, I don't have any other firewalls deployed, but I could even ask the question: has any of my firewalls deployed seen requests hitting the same signature ID, or let's say severity 2 IDs? And it would just run a query in each one of the firewalls. Remember that for this feature, it is a prerequisite that you have the IDPS logs enabling being sent to a log analytics workspace using resource-specific logs. So you can have this integration, and Copilot will do the research and give you the information you are looking for. So yeah, this is just a quick demonstration how you can use it. This feature is still in public preview, so if there are situations where you are asking the question and you're not getting the response you want, try to repeat the question in the same way, or try to change the question a little bit more. We are continuously working on improving this experience, so the idea is that when the feature is GA, the experience will be a lot better. All right, then I do have another, that's it for the embedded experience. I do have another one for the private IP. I'm not going to cover all the scenarios that, for private IP VNet, but initially we released this feature thinking on two different scenarios, right? The first one was for networks or for overlapped networks. Let's say, for example, you work in a company and then this company just acquired another company and you need to do the network integration, system integration, and then some of the networks are overlap. You need to establish connection between them somehow. So using Azure Firewall with private IP DNet support can help you achieve that, right? Without having to replan the network and change IP addresses. That sometimes there are a lot of other challenges and blockers that prevent you from doing that. And then, so that's one of the scenarios. And then the other scenario would be you have a network. Let's say you have a network A talking to network B, but network A doesn't talk to network C, right? And then in that case, you can use the private IP DNet to connect directly to the network C by using the Azure Firewall IP address, or just creating a net rule exposing, let's say, for example, using making a translation on port 80, so you can access your application running on the other network, even though you don't have routing between them. So the idea here is really to just show two things, right? So number one is, let me go here and just grab these. Okay, so we have this IP address. This is the IP address assigned to the Azure Firewall. This is not the IP address of the instance running behind the Azure Firewall. This is the VIP of the internal VIP, right? That's the same one that you're going to use when you are configuring the routing that you want to send all the traffic to your Azure Firewall. That's the same IP address. And then in the rule, you're going to have a DNet rule, and there is no change on the type of DNet rule, right? So the only thing is that now when you come here, you will be able to assign the IP address, the public IP address of the firewall, right? Previously, if we would try to assign an IP address that was different than the public IP address assigned to the firewall, you would see a validation errors here saying, hey, this IP address is not valid, right? So that's the experience now. You can just use the private IP of the firewall for these two scenarios. I'm pretty sure there are other scenarios, but the main scenarios, thought initially was the overlap networks and the non-routable networks. Okay, and then one other demo here, quick one, is for let me go to the firewall. So this firewall here, and we have the diagnose and solve problems. So as Shabaz was saying, here now you can just use this interface here to help you troubleshooting some issues you may have. The idea here is to consolidate or give you the information or the steps that you need to find what could be the reason or the root cause for an issue for you. So let's say you may have deployment issues, you may have connection issues, so you can put that here and use that in order to get more information, so you can fix the problem by yourself using the documentation without having to open a support case and working with the engineer on the Microsoft side to help you figure out what's wrong. So it may save you some time and help you fix issues quickly, right? So this one is just a quick one as well. And okay, so now we are going to go to the last part of the demo, which is using the Bring Your Own IP to vHub firewalls, right? So let me go back to my resource group. And first of all, I'd like to show you what's the experience, what was the classic experience, right? Or what's the current experience, because the feature is just in public preview, even though it's available. The one that is currently GA is still the classic experience, right? So let me go to the firewall manager, and then in the firewall manager, I have my virtual hubs. And then I can see here all of my virtual hubs. So previously, when we were, let's say I want to create a secure hub using this vhub 3. So I'll go here and do deploy a firewall with an existing policy. So let me just do this. And this is the first thing. So previously, we would need to inform what's the number of IP addresses that I want to assign to my Azure firewall, to my secure hub Azure firewall, right? It wouldn't give me the option to choose what are the public IP addresses that I really want to assign. I was only able, I'm only able to select how many IPs, but not which one of the IPs, right? These IP addresses that are assigned are IP addresses from internal subscription, so they were not on customer subscription, so you would not see those resources within your subscription. So that was the previous experience. And then once this vhub was created, this is what it would look like. So let me go back here to the resource group and select one of the hubs that I have. So if I go to the hub, where's my hub? Hub number 2. Okay, so within the hub, I can see the firewall. So what's the firewall that's being used here? It says it's secured. So that's the firewall that's being used, Azure Firewall vhub 2. And then when I go to the public configuration there, it shows me this IP address. But this IP address is not really from my subscription. And then if I wanted to add more IP addresses, that would be the experience. I would just need to say, hey, now I want to have 3 IP addresses, and I would not select what IP addresses are those, right? So once I hit add here, the deployment process will start. 2 other IP addresses will be assigned automatically, and once it's done, I will get to know what are those IP addresses, right? Okay, so what changes with the new experience is that, let me go back, and then hub here, and then vhub. I will secure this one. Actually, yeah, I already have one created. So yeah, this one. So let me go to the policy. So this vhub one is the vhub that's already using the bring your own IP feature, right? So if I click here, I will see under the public IP configuration the IP addresses, and note the difference here. In the other hub, I was only seeing the IP address assigned, but I wasn't seeing the name of the resource because the resource itself is not in my subscription, right? In this case, I see the resources because these resources are being hosted or in my subscription. So if I want to do, add another IP address, the experience here will change again. So instead of saying how many IP addresses I want to add, I would just put whatever name here for that IP address, and then I would choose another IP address from my subscription, right? A few additional things to mention here is that this IP address can be an IP address that you created, like just a single IP address, or an IP address that you created out of a prefix IP, right? So for example, if I go to my demo replica, and then we'll see that I have these prefix here, and what are the IP addresses that I have. I have 2 IP addresses, pip1 and pip2. So this one is the 134. The other one, let's see, what is the other one? The other one is the 135. So within my prefix, and those are exactly the IP addresses that I'm using within my vhub Azure Firewall, right? So with that, now we have the control. Let's say, for example, I do work with some partners, right? And I need to ask my partners to allow requests coming from my IP addresses, right? From my firewall. So if I need to expand the number of IP addresses to have more outbound ports or to have more, flexibility with my applications, then you're gonna need to inform your partners. So if you have your prefix IP, you already know what's the range of IPs that your partner needs to allow on their side, right? So it's easier even for management when you have this kind of relationship with partners and other companies, right? So that's a pretty good thing. And the other advantage of using the Brigade on IP for vHub firewalls is that now we can assign DDoS protection to these IP addresses, right? Previously, with the IP addresses being hosted by internal subscriptions, we did not have this capability of enabling the DDoS IP protection or even the DDoS IP protection, assigning it to a network. So right now, I can just go to my IPs like this one here, for example, and I can say, hey, protect it. And here I can say, hey, enable the protection. I can use the IP and then just assign. I can, kind of link this IP protection with a DDoS plan if I already have one plan. The difference here is that when I do this, I will not pay additionally. So let's say you already have a plan, you're paying an X amount of money every month, and then you still want to enable the IP protection. Instead of paying for the plan and for the IP protection, when you make this link here, you will just pay for the plan. You won't pay additionally for this IP protection in this case. All right, so yeah, that's all that I have for today's demo. I hope this has been informative for you all, and we can go to the questions.
Great. Thank you, Gustavo. We have a few questions that were unanswered, and some may be worth reiterating. The first one is there an easy way to get a list of all resources like servers in Azure and on-premise that can be accessed from the internet via this tenant?
I'm not sure I get this question right. If there is, let me see, if there is a way to get the list of all resources like servers in Azure and on-premise that can be accessed from the internet via this tenant. If I'm getting this correctly, my understanding here is that you want to get a list of IPs that can access internet through this Azure Firewall, right? If that's the case, I would say you can get that list in two ways. One of them would be checking the rules. You can kind of export the rules and see what are the IPs in the source list and see what are the IP ranges being allowed, and maybe checking the logs and see what are the IP addresses that you have going through the firewall. If my understanding is not correct, please just elaborate a little bit more on the question, and I can answer that again.
Great. Next question is, in one of the initial slides, it was mentioned that Azure Firewall supports application-based policy. Can you please give an example? Is it similar to Palo Alto?
Application-based policy in Azure, we have one type of rule called application rule, right? The application rule in Azure Firewall means it's a type of rule that allows traffic specifically on HTTP, HTTPS, and MS SQL protocols. Instead of using, IP addresses as destination, you're going to be using FUDN. So Azure Firewall will check the SNI, and I think the answer for the comparison with Palo Alto is no, it's not the same thing, because and my answer to that is based on I understand you were asking about the app ID, where you can select specific applications to allow or deny traffic to and from, right? And we don't have that in Azure Firewall today. If you have any feedback about it, please submit the feedback in the link that we have in the chat. We really want to learn more about different use cases, like if if your question is related to App ID, please just provide more information so we can go through your feedback.
Great, thank you. We do have a question here. I think we'll need more elaboration, but I'll read it aloud. So there is no update on this beyond what is being looked at. I believe this issue was pointed on the known issue list for Azure Firewall and has been on that list for a few years already. And is there any ETA to share on this?
I think this is about the time to apply changes to the Azure Firewall policy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, right now we don't have an ETA to share, especially in this call. But I would invite you all to join the private community if you want to get more information about private previews and roadmap. Yeah, that's the best way to get more information in ETAs about upcoming features.
Great. And then the last question we have is there a sandbox environment in which beginners can learn about the Azure Firewall policy and rules?
There is no sandbox environment, but available, so you can just use that. But we do have a lot of templates in our GitHub repo. So if you have an Azure subscription, you could download the templates from there and deploy it as using the templates, so you can play and learn more about Azure Firewall and all the dependencies, all the features, and see how it works. But yeah, as of today, Microsoft doesn't offer any sandbox or demo environment where you can just connect and use it for learning more about the product.
Great. We actually had two more come in. The next one is there an easy way to export proxy rules to Azure Firewall Manager if we want to move away from Cisco proxies?
Not natively. There is nothing native that you can grab rules from a third-party solution and bring them to Azure Firewall. I think it could be possible doing via like some kind of script, but yeah, as of today, there is no native solution for that.
Cool. The last question is there a limit to the number of public IPs you can protect once you are subscribed to a DDoS policy?
To a DDoS policy, to a DDoS plan, the basic plan, not the basic plan, when you have a plan, it covers up to 100 IP addresses, but you can still use the same plan for more than 100 IP addresses, but with an additional cost per additional IP address.
Great. Well, that seems to be all the questions we have for the day. So with that, I'd like to thank you, Gustavo and Shabaz, for being our guests and for sharing the great information with our community. Also, thank you to the Q&A team who helped us with answering the questions and providing the resourceful information. To all the listeners still on the line, if you're someone who wishes to aid in the protection of the world from cyber threats and desire to have a say in shaping our strategies, blueprints, and recommendations, then we invite you to become part of our security community. Together, we can make a global impact. So join us at aka.ms/securitycommunity. This is also where you'll be notified about the upcoming webinars, events, and other announcements. For those of you who may have additional questions on the topic we just covered or other product-related questions, please feel free to raise them on our Microsoft Tech Community discussion space at aka.ms/ans community. Thank you all for being part of our community and for joining us on these webinars. We hope to see you next time. Goodbye.